Where do we begin? I think that's the goal there, to be honest. That hockey was phenomenal. Oh, we're sponsored by, well, a man can dream.
A man can dream,
Wow,
but we're moving on to the second round against the Battle of Alberta. Let's go!
Hey, Bruce, there it is. Bruce, there it was.
St. Louis decided to just blow up completely in the trade deadline.
I wish it wasn't Adam Fox.
It's two juggernauts just colliding with each other. If he doesn't beat Tampa in the first round, he's out of a job.
Isn't that weird? Boom, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Puck and Stuff podcast. I am T-Dog. That is your boy B-Dog over there on the other side of the screen. How are you guys doing today? Today, we have some predictions, and we're going to do predictions of the Central Division in the National Hockey League. 30 plus more days, I should say, until the season. So are you guys hyped? I am. Leave a thumbs up if you guys are. And hey, we're going to do some predictions here, give both of ours, talk about it, and then, hey, room for discussion for you guys in the comment section and all the TikToks that we'll make out of this. B-Dog, how are you doing today, good sir?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good on this side. We just are pumping out content already. We just did our off-season talk and talked about a big few contracts, especially with Matthews. And I'm super excited. We're getting close to the hockey. NFL just started. We're into week 1 coming up on Sunday. So I'm super excited. And as always, this episode is sponsored by, well, a man can dream.
A man can dream that this Minnesota Wild jersey comes back. I love it.
Oh,
This Wild jersey is awesome, man. It's one of my favorites.
I bet.
I like the Christmas tree colors, and maybe it's because I'm just such a holly jolly individual, especially because we are going to be doing predictions today. And should I get right into it, buddy?
Yeah, just no Christmas music until the end of November.
All right. Well, ho the mistletoe. We'll start with number 8, and then we'll go to number 1 there. My number 8 team in the Central Division will be the Colorado. Just kidding. Gotcha. It'll be the Arizona Coyotes. My number 7 team will be the Chicago Blackhawks. My number 6 team will be the St. Louis Blues. My number 5 team will be the Winnipeg Jets. My number 4 team will be the Nashville Predators. My number 3 team, these puppies right here, the Minnesota, almost the North Stars, Wild. Number 2, the Dallas Stars. And number 1, the Colorado Avalanche.
Okay, I gotta say wow, because we're pretty damn identical. We're pretty damn identical on how we created these ones. Okay,
we are not Tim and Sid.
We are really not. No, I'll give my predictions for the Central Division.
Bro, just be Stephen A and pretend you know nothing about hockey.
Or I could be Shannon Sharp with it. Oh my God. That guy's a legend, though, honestly. Okay, my predictions for the Central. We got number 8, the Arizona Coyotes. Number 7, the Chicago Blackhawks. Number 6, the St. Louis Blues. Number 5, the Winnipeg Jets. Number 4, the Nashville Predators. Number 3, the Minnesota Wild. Number 2, the Colorado Avalanche. Okay. Number 1, the Dallas Stars.
What's funny about this is I made this list 2 weeks ago. Like we finished off recording and I had nothing to do that night, and I'm like, dude, I'm just gonna make these just so I kind of don't have to do it later, because I'll forget. And this is exactly my list. Now, I found personally this Central Division list was actually a little easier to make than the other ones, and I feel because there is a bit of a disparity in the teams. Not saying it's like a terrible one, but I would say from the bottom 3 to the top 3, there's a big gap. Like you kind of know like where they're kind of slotting. Let's get into number 8. Why Arizona?
Well, because obviously what we seen from Arizona last season was a big jump in improvement, because they just moved to Mullet Arena, and the young team looked like they had a bit of energy coming out to play every game, and it was kind of fun hockey to watch in Arizona a little bit. Like, sadly enough, it wasn't a full stadium or a full arena, but I mean, it still was fun hockey. But with Chicago getting Bedard and Taylor Hall and looking like a little bit better of a team than they did last season, I think Arizona will finish last and be a contender in that first overall pick for once. And I mean, Who the hell knows, dude? Logan Cooley might be coming up this season, and that can change a lot. And he might be a Calder finalist at the end of this season. So there's a lot to say, but I think I'm comfortable putting Arizona before Chicago.
Oh, yeah, fair. I agree with this, of course. And Arizona, I there could be improvements. Are they last in the league? I don't know until the season kind of pans out. But for sure, though, with Arizona, is they're just still very young and there's not much of a direction. And it feels like maybe there's some sort of direction kind of being brought up because they have extended Andre Tournier, their coach, as well as Bill Armstrong, their GM. So maybe that there is some sort of plan in place finally, which they need. But you know what? They've lost an identity. They don't really have an identity right now, and they're somewhat kind of gaining it though.
Yeah.
And I think that might help. But that's pretty much all I have to say about Arizona. I guess we'll just move on to 7, Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago.
So for me, Chicago 7, they have Mr. Bedard. And Connor Bedard will definitely boost this team and their sales. That's probably about it. I don't know about standings. I think Bedard will have a fantastic season. I think he'll probably get 70 points, 60 points, close to 30 goals.
Jesus Christ.
I do. I really do. I really do think he's going to come out the gate flying. He will definitely change the culture of that team. But again, what else does this team have to offer? Taylor Hall, Seth Jones. But Chicago has, again, like Arizona, a lot of potential, but it's just not their year yet, and they got to rebuild. Rebuilding years for a few years, but I'm telling you, they do it right with Bedard. You might just have an early 2010 Chicago situation again. It's very possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to play it smart.
I think honestly, Chicago's first biggest step was getting Bedard, and obviously they succeeded that. They got the first overall pick, and they picked him. It was a no-brainer pick. And I think this is just something to start with because obviously you have a generational talent in Bedard alone. And you're putting him with Taylor Hall, which obviously he will get the little bit of teammate of experience with that for sure. I'm going to hearing 70 out of 1 year seems a little bit bizarre in my opinion. But again, we've seen it before, 100%.
Well, it just seems like he could be the player that could just have if he doesn't get injured. But McDavid could have had that if he wasn't injured in his first season. It's true, right? Lucas Reichel was another one I wanted to also mention. Yeah, too.
Lucas Reichel.
And Kurashev as well. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, but basically, I think Chicago is taking the right steps in the rebuild. Obviously, they got the first overall pick guy, and now if you want the 2010s dynasty again, now you have to get his Patrick Kane, his Patrick Sharp. You need to get his Corey Crawford. You need to get his Brett Seabrook and Duncan Keith. You just need you got the right guy, the franchise off of, but now you need the pieces. So obviously, I think this team will tank for another 2 to 3 years. And then you might see the wheel finally changing in the right ways for Chicago. But do they deserve it? No, not really. But will it happen? Probably.
Yeah, I think exactly what you said. Give it a few years, let the wheels keep turning, and eventually the Kyle Davidson train will leave the station, and it will come a fly-in, and that Central Division will probably be flipped again.
What do you got St. Louis at 6?
Okay, so St. Louis, I don't think they did that much this season, in the offseason, sorry. Nothing to really intrigue me in my personal opinion. I really think losing Barbashev was a big loss, man. Losing Barbashev, dude, I knew he was a good player, and I had a lot of respect for him. But seeing him with Vegas, you don't realize how much they lost out of that. Because I don't even remember what the return was, but it wasn't as good as it can be. Again, Blues didn't do too much to me. I mean, the nice thing with the Blues, at least they have all their draft picks. That's nice. But are you really doing anything to help Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas on that top line, or Braden Shed as well? No. I love Busnevich. I like their top 3. I like Torpachenko, and Jake Neighbors has a great ceiling of opportunity as well. Sundqvist, good depth player as well. Sammy Blais comes back, so we'll see what he can do. So there's some good names there that have potential to keep playing well or improve their game. I just don't see anything much. Plus two, I mean, I think they should have traded Bennington over Huso. I've been saying this since they traded Huso.
But I think at the end of the day, when you're a St. Louis Blues fan, you got to realize that they got overall the real goal done and they got St. Louis a cup. And when you're looking at what that team was, sadly enough, it will have to separate and break apart after a cup win because that's what happens. You saw Tarasenko get sent off to the Rangers, and now he's with Ottawa. You saw Riley get sent off to Toronto, and now he's with Nashville, funny enough. And now you're just seeing these pieces waste away or go away, but at least you got some return out of it at the end of the day. Now I think St. Louis is realizing they're going to have to take the steps into a retool or maybe even a quick little rebuild. Maybe they could do what LA did and do a quick 2 to 3 year rebuild and then bounce right back into contention mode because they do have those pieces, like you said, Robert Thomason, Jordan Kyrou. And I think the young pieces are there, but now you just kind of have to build around it and retool a little bit. I think they could do it really quick if they do it right. Except the defense. I would say definitely rebuild the defense. It is getting
But if they do it, they have to do it now. That's
yeah, they have to do it now. I think this is the season they start. And also trade Jordan Bennington. I think he's caused enough problems and enough goalie fights in your town. Send him somewhere else. Send him to Vegas.
Vegas. I don't know where he Philly.
It would be good entertainment in Vegas. They could make a lot of money off of late night.
It'd be a good Broad Street goalie.
That would be pretty funny. That would be.
Vegas always got the attractions, hey?
Yeah, they got the because they start off with the intro show at the beginning. They play the game, and then halfway through the game, Bennington starts fighting.
Shing, takes out the goalie stick and just starts like swinging.
It says goalie stick.
maybe they'll just like tape over Bennington and just put Braveheart on the back of the jersey.
Oh my God.
That's what I think. But hey, man, yeah, good stuff.
I love that. I love that.
Number 5, we have the Winnipeg Jets.
Ooh.
Winnipeg. Okay, I'll just quickly say something, then you can go. Especially if they lose Hellebuck to the trade deadline in March, for sure they'll be 5th or 6th or something of that sort. Same thing. They're having some sort of an identity crisis. Mark Scheifele might want out as well. You still have great pieces with Kyle Connor as well, and some younger players as well. Again, I don't think they did as much as they probably should have. But Pierre-Luc Dubois.
That was a big trade.
That was a big trade. Now I like this. I love that trade still. Just don't think that those F pieces help, but I don't think they help you get over that hump. But they were going to help in the long run because if you do this correctly, where if you can, trade Scheifele for good return and do a retool, but keep some of those younger pieces and those new pieces as well, I think that does help in the long run. However, right now, just don't see it really working out, especially since there's a lot of rumors of players wanting to want out, and I find that affects play of the team.
Yeah, I think so as well. We kind of noticed that with Winnipeg in the last few years for sure. Honestly, if there was any year to make these trades with Winnipeg, I think this is the year for it because obviously enough we saw in the offseason, we saw that with Pierre-Luc Dubois getting traded off to LA. It was a little bit of a fleece job. I think Winnipeg got exactly what they needed is the pieces of players to retool really quick. And I think that's what Winnipeg needs right now, especially when you're hearing with Winnipeg the trades of Hellebuck, Scheifele, they got rid of Wheeler. And I think this is time for Winnipeg to kind of do its retool too, just like St. Louis. But yeah, I think it will go a little bit better because they just kind of already started that process. So I think Winnipeg at 5 is a perfect spot for them, just middle of the pack mediocrity.
Winnipeg, Calgary, we're all the same, eh?
Yeah, pretty much.
At least they get ODR weather.
We got a bigger city and less murder, less crime rate.
Well, they have ODRs though for longer, and I'm a little jealous about that.
Yeah. Number 4.
Okay, Nashville Predators. I could see them being a playoff team, maybe a wild card. We'll see, of course, with the other divisions, but maybe not. I mean, they could be in the same situation where they just miss it, like last year. But, the addition of Ryan O'Reilly is not bad. I gotta think more about this now that I think about it. I just see these other three teams better than Nashville, but I saw Nashville better than the other five. Hence why I guess they're in the middle. But maybe I'll let you go with this, and I can kind of regain my thoughts here.
Yeah, for sure. I think Nashville kind of went on a little bit of a tumble since the trade deadline last year. They got a lot of picks for Tanner Jeannot, so I can't complain about that.
Oh, man.
They literally got a whole draft class for Jeannot, and that was really great. But now I think that was the necessary step that Nashville needed because they did get a lot of good pieces from the draft out of it. And now you're going into next season and you're looking really at those bright spots, young bright spots that Nashville still has because you still have Saros and net. You still got Roman Yossi, still a top 5 defenseman in the league. And your forwards now are getting built with young pieces around Forsberg. So I think realistically, those 3 teams we just listed are doing their own I think they're going through their own retool little rebuild right now. I think that's what is the easiest. I think that's why this division is the easiest because you got like 2 teams rebuilding, 3 teams retooling, and like 3 teams actually contending. So
yeah, they are. I love their fans. But speaking of great fans, let's talk about Minnesota here at number 3.
State of hockey.
Ooh. Yeah, Minnesota. I love this team. The Boldy signing is awesome. Kirill Kaprizov is just outstanding. The fact that he's getting paid $9 million, he's going to get a paycheck when he needs to get a re-sign. But this team, okay, so another team that I don't think did too much. They did lose Matt Dumba.
Yeah, that hurts. That hurts on the defensive side a little
for
bit.
sure. But I think like Kalen Addison is someone that is gonna come into your lineup now, and I think he's ready to take that step. I think Philip Gustafson is what a gem, an absolute gem. So Minnesota, they have the defense somewhat, they have the forward group to score their goals, and they have the goaltending. So I think they have the 3 pieces to have a solid season. Playoffs, we'll have to see how that team connects and has that chemistry. But this team didn't do too much either, I would say. And I do like their team, especially their top 6. Their bottom top, their top 6. Their bottom 6, there are teams with better bottom 6s for sure. But that top 6 really does compensate a lot, and it helps them. And I just see how where Minnesota is compared to these other teams we've talked about. I think they're just in that number 3 spot.
Yeah, I think I got to agree because obviously with this division, there are 3 contenders, and I think Minnesota is one of them. They're the 3rd one, but they're one of them, and that's a win. You talk about Kaprizov. He's looking like a generational talent right winger that I think Minnesota really needed. The pieces around him are getting there for sure, especially when you add a goaltender like Gustafson. And what he showed in playoffs last year was so needed for goaltending because obviously you didn't want to just rely on Fleury, and you still had to wait on Wallstead to develop a little bit more. So I think that was a big win for them. But yeah, I think honestly, this is a good spot for them. We'll see them in the 2nd round exit. Pretty much.
You said it right, man. I mean, yeah. I mean, Minnesota's a great team. Just how good are they? Are they able to be good enough to overcome their slump, or are they not?
All right, we're down to our final 2 teams, and obviously I said Colorado and Dallas, and you said Dallas and Colorado. I would like to know why you think Colorado will finish on top of Dallas.
So Colorado is in a weird spot because they've lost their captain for a full season. Kind of worries me in the sense that an injury like that, can you ever play the same again? Now, to me, Colorado's a team that's able to adapt and improvise on the fly, and that's what makes them such a phenomenal, outstanding team. Aside from the fact, heavy depth and good in every specific area, I think with the additions they've made, they'll be able to still provide enough goal scoring and enough defensive ability and capabilities and good goaltending and the good goaltending, putting up decent numbers too, to the extent that will allow the team to be one of the top teams in the league. That's what I think. Dallas is in that same spot though as well, in the sense that they are an up and coming. I mean, they're an up and coming team. Let's be real here. Like I mean, they could have made the finals.
Yeah.
For a while there, I generally thought Dallas was going to make the finals. And they could be right back to where they were last year again this year. Now, but I'll just start with Colorado there. But yeah, I just think that they'll just have a really good season, and I think that they'll prove some people wrong in that. Yeah, let's not forget this team. That's what I'm trying to say, because even though the team looks a little different from that cup win, it's only 2 years out. They could still make a big splash. That's why I see it. Do you want me to go on to Dallas now, or do you want to say something?
I'll say something because obviously I put Colorado at number 2 and Dallas at number 1. And my reasoning, obviously, we talk about Landeskog obviously being out for a year, and he's potentially going to be out for another year because of injury. So that is a big concern, because that 3-headed demon line was a big reason for why they went as far as they did to raise a cup. But I think as we still look at Colorado, they still look filthy on the D line with Cale Makar and Donovan Taves there. Nathan McKinnon is still a top 5 centerman, and he's still paired up with Ranta. Does it hurt a little bit more since they got rid of Alex Newhook? Just a little bit with that Landeskog injury. But they did make a lot of signings in the offseason to kind of up their depth a little bit to make it more compelling and still be in contention for a playoff spot. And Georgiev, he looked solid last year, but I think realistically they need him to up his game to be able to go anywhere far, in my opinion. And I'll say what I say about Dallas in a little bit, but I'll let you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the goalie reason definitely, though, it come playoff time for sure. I think just fours alone, they'll be fine. But listen to their top 6, even without Landeskog. McKinnon, Rantanen, Nichushkin, Lehkonen, Ron Johansson, Ross Colton, or you can switch it with like Jonathan Drouin or Frederick Olofsson, Ben Myers, any of those players, right? So that's a very solid top 6. Yeah. That is, right? So you just can't count them out, especially too with that defense as well. It's still that. I mean, like Bowman Byram, like has he hit his peak? Has Cale Makar hit his peak? Exactly.
I mean, he's looking like it, dude. that resume alone right now.
He could still go even more, man. That's why I see it, right? So that's how I see that this team
so young
is just. It's gonna be a long time until they are not the one of the top teams in the league no longer. They're a good team, but I really do believe that they'll be one of the top teams in the league entirely, not just in their division. And I just think they outbeat Dallas just by winning a few extra games, really. But I do see that like Dallas can take that extra step, and I hope they do take that extra step.
And we're looking at Dallas right now as my number 1 team in the division. And obviously they made a cup run into 2020 against Tampa. Didn't work out that well. Team was still young, and they were relying on Sagan and Ben a little bit more. But now the tide has changed, and their young players have developed very well. Oh my God. When you really, like you just said, when you looked on this team at paper, it looks like a scary, deep contender team. And the reason why I have Dallas over Colorado this year is because Colorado's injury with Landeskog might affect them a little bit more in the regular season than more people will think. And
okay, so we differ on that. Okay,
yeah, I think because realistically, if we're talking about playoff scenario of if it's round 2, Dallas and Colorado make it past the first round and verse each other in round 2, I think Colorado wins the round. 100%.
Okay.
But if we're just talking about regular season here, I think Dallas gets more points than Colorado in the regular season.
No, okay.
Just based on their power, like their star power and their goaltend. I think Jake Onger will have a great season. He'll probably be a Vezina caliber goaltender and finalist again, 100%.
He's going to win a Vezina one year for sure, and it could be this year.
It really could, but I think when we looked at him in the playoffs last year, he struggled quite a bit against Vegas.
For sure.
I think that was the reason why Dallas didn't make it to a cup, because obviously Vegas knew the game against Onger. and it completely ruined them through those games. So that could be a big reasoning in playoffs, but we're not talking about playoffs yet. We're talking about regular season. So
that's a good point. That's a good point. But like to me, bringing back that whole idea of adaptation, improvisation, of course, works in the playoffs. But I could just see Colorado just taking it over. But you are persuading me, of course, with Dallas, and you know what, it could be either way. I'll still stick with Colorado being number one, but again, Dallas, one of those teams I'm definitely looking for this season with interest because wow, like just look at a team.
So good, man.
The way their team has been built and developed is exactly how you wish every GM could do it to you. How would the GM of your team, could do it to your team?
Tell me about
it. Oh my goodness, hey, like it's wow, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, literally, wow. Because like I think Dallas, that's why again I had Dallas on top, because I'm like, if this is a year that Dallas takes the division, I think it is, because your reigning cup champs are a little bit injury prone still after that season. And they might have amazing star talent like they do, but I think Dallas has a little bit more push and shove when it comes to regular season. But playoffs is a completely different monster, man. Like completely different. So
very much so.
I guess we'll just have to see. We'll see if this prediction is right. But hey, guys, that was our Central Division predictions. If you guys did enjoy that, please leave a like, leave a comment, and please subscribe. We're doing very well. We love the support you guys give us. And to let us know if we're right, wrong, or absolute crazy. But hey, just drop a comment. We will always respond. Hey, T-Dog, wrap this up.
Alrighty, well, like B-Dog said, thank you very much for listening, watching, however you are consuming this content. If you did like it, smash that thumbs up button down below. Leave a comment too if you like it. And question of the day, exactly what B-Dog said. What are your predictions? Were we right? Were we wrong? And why is it that the Blackhawks will be much better than we expected? It could happen. It probably won't,
but aren't carrying teams that hard? Sheesh.
Pretty much. Ultimately, guys, we have 2 more predictions to go, so look out for those. And then, hey, after that, boom, regular season time. Then we can talk about some actual hockey. Can't wait, boys. Let's get going. And remember, keep on rocking in the free world. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Peace.